Hi, my name's Daniel. I'm a barrister of England and Wales. Some of you might have seen me already because you've already popped over to my channel from one of Charlie's videos. Charlie's asked me to review one of his videos where he visited Carham Hall to give some sort of commentary and legal analysis as to what happened. So a little bit about me. I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a barrister, I'm a mediator, and I'm a 6th degree black belt. For some reason, when I meet people for the first time, the first thing they usually mention is being a black belt. So I thought it was only fitting when I created my new channel during the lockdown to call it Black Belt Barrister. I feel the law should be accessible to everybody, so I created this channel to help you understand what might otherwise be fairly complex legal scenarios. So if you pop over and subscribe there, you will end up with a whole library of videos from a practicing barrister that can help you to understand the law. Obviously, it can't be a replacement for legal advice, but it can certainly help. So with that said, on with the video. Now, when I saw the video for the first time, I had no idea what it was going to be about. I was pointed to it from lots of you guys in comments on my videos, and of course, Charlie himself. For those of you that haven't seen that video, it's fairly straightforward. Charlie visits a building called Carham Hall, which is a property built in the 1700s, but it isn't listed, and it's due to be demolished in September this year. So Charlie was told about this and decided to go and get some footage of this building to show you on his YouTube channel.
I was going to do you guys a really good, peaceful countryside video.
The first thing that struck me is that it was effectively a live commentary from Charlie all the way through the video. Now, one of the most important things a court considers on any case that comes up is consistency of evidence and whether it's contemporaneous evidence. Contemporaneous being made at or around the time, because it's likely to be more accurate if it is documented or recorded at or around the time that it happened. And consistency, so if anything Charlie says about this event later on matches that which is recorded in the video, which was recorded live, then it's much more likely to be credible and believable and relied on in court. Another thing that the courts consider quite seriously is people's behaviour. The way people behave can often influence the outcome of a case. There's an old maxim or saying that he who seeks equity must do equity. Equity generally meaning fairness. So if somebody wants to be treated fairly, they must be treating other people fairly in the first place. So there is certainly a degree of overlap between written law and people's behaviour, because people's behaviour can, and very often does, influence how a court will apply the law in a given set of facts. Broadly speaking, if somebody is not civil or behaving unreasonably, then there's a good chance that their evidence is going to be less credible. So with that in mind, let's go through the video and I'll tell you what my reactions were as we go through.
Hi. Hi, sorry, hi, hurry. I'm Charlie, hello. But it's a civil issue, I mean, are you
trespassing, and the police are aware of things going on here, so I can phone the police if you want, that's fine.
The first thing I should say is that there's an argument as to whether or not Charlie was a trespasser in the first place. You see, Carham Hall was a residential care home and is still listed on the Facebook website as being always open. There's a phone number and there's arguably an implied right of access to go to the property to make inquiries as to what's going on or for any kind of administration. But that aside, let's say Charlie was a trespasser and he shouldn't have been there. Now, trespass is a civil matter, not a criminal one, and shouldn't involve the police. The key thing that somebody should do in the event of a civil trespass is ask them to leave. Now, I'm not condoning willful trespass, civil or otherwise. Of course, I can't do that. But in the event that there is a civil trespass, you just have to ask the person politely to leave.
Hi, my name's Charlie. Why are you being so rude? What's the problem?
I've had a lot of abuse personally.
Am I abusing you?
No, but I'm telling you, you're trespassing.
Within 15 seconds, you already threatened the police.
Yeah, I'm just one of them now. It's fine.
So Charlie's there at Carham Hall filming the building. It should be obvious that he's holding a camera and what he's doing, because he's not exactly climbing a fence or climbing through a window or causing any damage. So anyone that approaches him should ideally do so in a civil manner, ask what he's doing there, tell him that it's private land and ask him to leave. But when this lady arrives, although she's visibly upset, in my view, it would have been far simpler to have been civil with Charlie, tell him that it's private land, that he's not supposed to be there, and ask him to leave. Now, in my view, from watching this video, it was clear from the outset that she was intent on being hostile with Charlie rather than civil.
Trespassing, and the police are aware of things going on here, so I can phone the police if you want, that's fine.
Now, aside from the fact that he may have been there as a trespasser, I still think she should have just asked him to leave nice and politely, and maybe they could have had a friendly conversation and Charlie would have been on his way.
Hey, my name's Charlie. Why are you being so rude? What's the problem?
Once or twice, Charlie did raise his voice.
No, I'm not. I'm talking to the police so they can hear me.
But it's clear to me that he did that because he could hear what this lady was saying to the police.
No, I'm not refusing to leave.
And he's shouting at me.
You can hear her saying that Charlie's refusing to leave and that he's shouting at her, which, in my view, is simply not the case. In any event, by phoning the police and involving the police, this lady has effectively made a complaint to the police about Charlie, to the effect that the police might want to question Charlie about what happened. Now, in my view, it's perfectly reasonable that Charlie would want to stick around to get his point across to the police, whether that's on the phone by raising his voice or by waiting around for the police to arrive. Either way, it's clear from the video that Charlie got back in his car and tried to leave.
Trying to leave, but she won't let me pass. I'm here at... She's on the phone to the cops again, I guess, but this is just my evidence that I'm about 12 meters away from her and she's not letting me pass.
And that's where we come to the second portion of the video, which for me is a great deal more concern than the first bit about Charlie being a trespasser in the first place.
Oh my God, they've blocked the exit. Look at that. Okay. Okay. Can you let me out, please? You shouldn't kidnap me.
Police are on their way and they're aware.
No, but you can't hold someone here without their permission. I swear to God, you need to let me go because you cannot hold someone here.
I don't know where the keys are, I'm sorry.
No, honestly, you can't do that.
I have to wait.
You can't do that. You can't just block someone in.
Well, actually, you're a private man, so it's just that we parked there.
In this second portion of the video, there are two separate things to comment on, which are far more serious than civil trespass. Effectively, by blocking the driveway entrance with their vehicle, they were obstructing and preventing Charlie from re-entering the highway by leaving the land. Now, deliberately obstructing the highway is a separate offence in and of itself, but that's not the most concerning thing here. In this situation, it was quite clear to me that this couple were doing this deliberately to keep Charlie in one place and preventing him from leaving. This may well make it false imprisonment. A false imprisonment claim breaks down essentially into three components. Firstly, that there must be a willful detention. Secondly, that detention must be without the person's consent. And thirdly, the detention itself must be unlawful. Now, in some scenarios, a citizen's arrest might well be argued, but there is no argument for a citizen's arrest in Charlie's particular case, because although he may have been a trespasser on the land, that's a civil matter. He wasn't returning, he wasn't causing damage, and it certainly wasn't aggravated trespass or any other kind of offence that has trespass as an element of the offence. At this point in time, Charlie was simply trying to leave and was prevented from doing so. So taking this on analysis, in my view, this couple was blocking the exit to this land deliberately, which is a willful detention of Charlie in one place. It was certainly without his consent because you can hear Charlie pleading throughout the video. In my view, respectfully, even at one point seeming a little bit worried about what was going to happen because they simply refused to let him leave.
I can't leave my car here. Who knows what you'll do to it? You've hostile already. I can't leave. I'm 6 miles from my house. Who knows what they're going to do to my car? All right, we're still blocked in. Now, I'm going to take my car and try and find another exit because I feel threatened by these people. They've got guns. Still no exit. Gate's still blocked. Guys, can we just say one last thing? I have to leave.
So in my view, from watching Charlie's reaction in the video, there's a suggestion that there's an immediate fear of harm from him being kept in one place as to what was going to happen next. And as I said, there's no argument here for a citizen's arrest, therefore the detention would be unlawful. Now, in order to make out a claim for false imprisonment, a person must show that he reasonably believed that he was detained or confined into one place and prevented from leaving. Now, many people would think that physical force is required for false imprisonment, but that's not the case. Even by using a barrier of some kind to prevent somebody from leaving, such as blocking an exit way with a car, could amount to false imprisonment. This can also raise the concern to unreasonable duress, such as holding somebody's valuables, in this case, Charlie's car. Now, although Charlie continued to film to try to show you what was happening, I can get the sense that Charlie was genuinely worried about what's going to happen to his car if he left. Charlie suggested at one stage that he was going to leave and get picked up, and indeed his father came along. But his father and Charlie stood outside with Charlie's car remaining inside, and it took the police to arrive to convince this lady to move the car to let Charlie leave. So if any case like this were to come to court, it's likely that all of the facts and all of the circumstances would be considered together. What was the intention of the parties all the way through? What was the behaviour of the parties all the way through? And often behaviour of one party towards the end of an ordeal can indicate what their intentions were towards the beginning. So again, and although I'm definitely not saying that anybody can just trespass wherever they like on private land, there is a certain level of response that should be expected. We live in a civil society, so if someone has committed a civil wrong, the response should be equal and proportionate and civil in nature. Now, aside from whether Charlie was trespassing in the first place, and I think there are arguments as to whether or not he was willfully trespassing at all, and whether this lady has any rights over the land. Charlie didn't know. I still don't know because I haven't looked at the title deeds. But regardless, the response to a civil trespasser, unless they are standing there with a weapon, or they are climbing through your window, or climbing over the fence, or something like that that shows that there is some level of malice there, then you shouldn't be responding in such an aggressive way. So in my view, this is a great example of where not only does a second wrong not make anything right, but the second wrong may be much more wrong than the first. And if you respond in this way and you block somebody into your property when they were there as a civil trespasser, you may well be in for a lot more serious trouble than the trespasser ever was in the first place. So I, for one, am disappointed that I didn't get to see this footage of Carham Hall, and I'm even more disappointed that it looks like this building is going to be demolished. Perhaps there could be some kind of online petition and poll to keep it alive, or perhaps somebody ultimately is going to buy it. But until then, its fate seems sealed. So I hope you found my brief analysis useful. I'm happy to respond to some comments and questions in the box below, and I'd be really grateful if you jump over to my channel at Black Belt Barrister and subscribe there, and I'll see you all next time.
Why are you being so antagonistic?